Darkness, then a flicker. My eyes cracked open to a dull ache and a ceiling stained yellow, paint peeling like sunburnt skin. This wasn't home. I tried to sit. Cold metal held me fast. Chains, thick and heavy, bolted to the bed frame. Panic clawed up my throat. I yanked. The chain rattled, mocking me. Both wrists, both ankles, spread-eagled, trapped. I squeezed my eyes shut, searching for any memory. Nothing. Just static. This wasn't a bad night. This was something else. Something sinister. My heart hammered in the suffocating silence as I scanned the cheap motel room. Threadbare carpet, grimy window, no light. This place felt wrong, deep in my bones, wrong. Silence pressed in, heavy, unnatural, suffocating. Not the quiet of emptiness, but the silence of a predator, waiting. I strained to listen. Nothing but my own ragged breathing and the clink of chains. The wallpaper, sickly floral, stained and peeling, seemed to writhe at the edges of my vision. The air was cold, damp, clinging to my skin, chilling me to the marrow. This room was a trap. The chains, unyielding. Whoever put me here wanted me helpless. Why? Why the chains? Why the memory loss? No answers, only a growing certainty trouble was coming. Then I smelled it. Beneath the dust and damp, a coppery tang. Blood, old stale, mixed with something sweet and rotten. The stench seeped from the walls, churning my stomach. This wasn't just a dirty motel room, it was a place of death. Every stain, every crack screamed of past suffering. The dim light under the door felt like a warning. This place was alive, watching, savoring my fear. I was chained in its belly, waiting for the nightmare to begin. Time lost meaning, just silent stench and fear. Then a scrape in the hallway. My head snapped up, every muscle tensed. The chains bit into my skin, a reminder I was prey. The scraping grew closer, slow and deliberate, something heavy being dragged. My heart hammered. I pulled at the chains, desperate. A soft thud outside the door. Silence. The silence of arrival. My eyes fixed on the sliver of light under the door, waiting for a shadow. The moment I dreaded was here. I wouldn't like what I was about to see. The doorknob turned, each click echoing in the suffocating room. The door creaked open, revealing a tall, looming silhouette. Featureless, inhuman. It didn't speak, just stood there, observing, cold and calculating. My fear was a living thing, freezing my blood. I wanted to scream, but my voice was trapped. The figure stepped in, silent as a phantom, the door clicking shut behind. Only the sliver of hallway light remained, outlining its menacing form. Closer now. I caught the faint scent of antiseptic and rust. The figure stopped beside the bed, towering over me, a shadow of ill intent. I heard its slow, even breathing, routine, uncaring. Cold metal pressed against my leg. My eyes snapped open. A blade glinted in its hand. Panic exploded. I thrashed, screamed, but the figure didn't react. The blade bit deep, searing pain cutting through skin and muscle. I screamed again, the agony consuming everything. The figure worked methodically, no wasted motion, just cold, precise butchery. This couldn't be real, it had to be a nightmare. The blade soared, grinding against bone. Fresh agony with every movement, blood gushed, soaking the sheets, pooling beneath me. The figure grunted, then a final wrench, a crack, something severed, lightness where my leg had been followed by escalating pain. My vision blurred, darkness creeping in as my strength faded. The figure straightened, holding my leg, my goddamn leg. It turned, walked to the door, unhurried. Darkness swallowed me whole. Consciousness slammed into me. I braced for pain. None. The room was unchanged, the chains still biting. My right leg, whole, unblemished, impossible. The memory of mutilation was vivid, but my body was intact. This place was playing a sick game, pain, then restoration. The chains weren't just to hold me, they were to keep me. For the next performance, the next violation. I was a canvas for endless suffering. Dread settled in a gnawing certainty it would happen again. I listened for the scrape, the knob turning. It came. The silhouette entered, unchanged, deliberate. This time it approached my left side, reaching for my arm. A cleaver glinted short, heavy. Cold steel touched my skin. Pain exploded, hacking, chopping, bone splintering, blood sprayed. I bit my tongue, trying to stifle screams. Darkness beckoned, pulling me under. I woke again, same chains, same stench, my arm whole. The cycle was undeniable. The room felt more aware, as if watching. I whispered to the walls, "What do you want? Why are you doing this?" No answer. The silence was charged, listening. Shadows deepened. Was I losing my mind, or was this place sentient? My whispers grew louder, angrier. Accusations, the air grew colder, a presence almost tangible. This motel was alive, a predator, and I was its unending feast. The cycle continued. Days, nights, weeks. Who knew? Each awakening was a fresh hell, healed, chained, waiting. They took different parts, an ear, fingers, a slice of flesh, always precise, always agonizing, always growing back. My mind, stretched taut, began to see things, hear things, or maybe it was just the motel showing me more of itself, peeling back the layers of its rotten soul. The veil between realities was wearing thin, or tearing. Flickers in the dim light. At the edge of my vision, shadows that weren't just shadows. They moved, twitched, took on shapes, too quick to grasp, too disturbing. Faces in the floral pattern of the wallpaper, eyes in the cracks. Were they real? Or was the isolation, the torment finally breaking me? It didn't matter. The fear was the same, real, consuming. This room was haunted, not just by me, but by echoes. Echoes of pain, echoes of countless others, whispers, faint, just beyond the range of hearing. At first I thought it was the blood rushing in my ears, but they grew, became distinct. Moans, soft cries, the hushed pleas of other souls, trapped like me. Were they in other rooms? Were they long dead? Their suffering seemed to seep through the very walls, a chorus of despair, a symphony of agony played out for the amusement of this God-forsaken place, the room itself. It pulsed, a slow rhythmic beat, like a diseased heart. The floorboards creaked in time. The air thrummed with a silent, unseen energy. This motel wasn't just alive, it was aware. It was feeding, not just on my flesh, but on my fear, my despair, my hope. It was a parasite, and I was its host, one of many, chained in its shadowy guts, waiting for the next visit, the next nightmare, the next offering, endless. Another awakening, another round of unnatural healing. The phantom pains lingered, a cruel echo of the cleaver, my arm whole. But this time something felt different, a tiny shift. The shackle on my left wrist, the one they'd worked around, it felt looser, just a fraction, a hair's breadth. Was it my imagination? Hope, that treacherous bastard, flickered. Or was it the motel, offering a new, crueler game? I didn't care. A chance was a chance, no matter how slim. I lay still, listening. The silence was a thick blanket, heavy with the motel's unseen presence, its patient hunger. Slowly, carefully, I began to test the shackle, millimeter by painful millimeter, twisting my wrist. The cold metal scraped against raw bone, or so it felt. Every tiny movement was a gamble, a risk. Any sound could bring the shadow back, prematurely. My breath hitched with each turn. My heart hammered a frantic rhythm, then a click, so soft. Almost missed it. The shackle gave, just a little more. Enough. With a surge of adrenaline, I pulled. My skin tore. But my hand, my left hand, it was free. A wave of dizziness washed over me. Triumph mixed with terror. One hand, not much, but more than I'd had in forever. The other chains held fast. Ankles, right wrist, still anchored. But one hand was a start, a weapon, a tool, hope. I scanned the dim, oppressive room. What could I use? The bed frame? Too solid? The walls? Bare, mocking? My eyes fell on the rickety nightstand, cheap particle board. If I could reach it. If it had a drawer, something sharp, the chain on my right wrist, it had some play. I stretched, my muscles screamed, my freed hand reached out, fingers brushed against the edge, so close, the room seemed to hold its breath, waiting, watching me. My fingers found a flimsy knob. The nightstand drawer groaned as I pulled, a god-awful noise in the suffocating quiet. I froze, listening. Inside, dust, a Gideon's Bible, and something else. Scratched words into the wood, names, dates, etched with desperate strength. John S. They took my eyes. Maria R. It knows what I fear. Dozens of them. A grim ledger of past suffering. I wasn't the first. This place had been harvesting misery for a long time. A thin crack in the wall pulsed with a sickly luminescence. I pressed my eye to it, beyond another dimly lit room, a chained shape on a bed. The despair, I felt it. A dark stain spread across the sheets. The motel had shown me a glimpse of another hell. You are not alone, there is no escape. The vision vanished, but the image burned behind my eyes. Another soul, another sacrifice. This wasn't comfort, but cruelty. The motel dangled shared suffering, then slammed the door shut, leaving me with the cold truth. each of us isolated in our own nightmare. It wanted me to feel the weight of its ancient evil. My one free hand felt useless against a place that could rewrite reality. Others, were they fighting too? The motel seemed to hum with sick amusement, feeding on hope and despair. I banged my fist against the wall. Anyone there? A faint tapping in response from the other side. Or was it the motel playing its sick games? It was coming. My fleeting hope, all part of its design to heighten the fear. The motel wasn't just a prison, it was a puppeteer. Something snapped inside me, the last thread of denial cut clean. I stared at the sweat-soaked ceiling, piecing it together. This place wasn't just haunted or cursed, it was alive, feeding on every sob, every drop of blood. Even the wallpaper seemed to pulse, greedy for pain. That hunger was more than a rumor. I'd felt it with every mutilation, every nightmarish resurrection. It twitched under my palm. My agony was its feast, seasonings for its endless banquet. I wasn't just a prisoner, I was cattle. A renewable crop of suffering harvested night after night. The motel was feeding on my last scraps of defiance. The more I struggled, the more it relished the taste. This was no ordinary hell, but a gourmet kitchen for agony. I was the main course, and the feast was far from over. Then a voice, weak, hoarse, but unmistakably human. It came from the next room. "Hey," it croaked, you there?" My breath caught. There was pain in that voice, real pain. A living echo of my own torment. I pressed my mouth to the wall, ignoring the sick heat. "I'm here," I rasped. "Who are you?" Silence, then a thud. "Doesn't matter who I am," he groaned. "We're just meat, it won't let us go." "How long you been here?" I asked. He laughed, broken. Long enough to forget my own face. For the first time, I didn't feel alone. There was someone else, someone who knew. "If we work together," I said, voice trembling, "maybe we can break free." But already something in the wall was shifting. The pulse grew faster. The chains tightened as if the motel sensed the threat. We plotted, whispered through the rotten wall, trading details. When the shadow came, he'd shout, "Distract it!" I'd use my free hand, try to break the next shackle. There was nothing else left, not faith, not reason. Only desperation clinging to a razor's edge. I tensed, counting heartbeats, waiting for the scrape in the hallway. It came, right on cue, heavy, purposeful. The familiar chill swept through the room. My fellow prisoner screamed, raw, animal, defiant. The shadow paused. For the first time I heard hesitation in its step. I strained, yanking at the chain. The metal bit through skin. Blood trickled, slick and warm. I almost had it, almost. The shackle slipped, triumph flared. But then the wall between us pulsed, swelled and split. A fleshy seam tore wide, revealing glistening red within, wet, quivering tissue like the inside of a mouth. No, not like a mouth, the motel itself. A scream tore loose from the other room, then cut off, choked, wet. I could hear the walls swallowing, chewing. The shadow turned back to me, its faceless head cocked. The motel had punished us both for daring to hope. My shackle snapped tight again, my free hand useless, pinned by invisible force. The taste of blood and loss flooded my mouth. The message was clear. Here, hope was just another flavor. One the motel savored most of all, alone again, chained. The walls throbbed, content. My neighbor's voice gone, only the echoes left behind. The motel had feasted, and I was still here, still whole, still afraid. But now I knew its rules, and I knew this. The only thing worse than being alone in the dark is remembering for a moment that you're not. The silence screamed louder than any victim. My neighbor, consumed, swallowed by the very walls. His desperate cries, now just another echo in this cursed place. Hope, extinguished, brutally. The motel showed its true, disgusting hand. It didn't just want our pain. It wanted our connection, our spirit. It wanted to devour every last scrap of light, leaving only the cold, hard certainty of its endless hunger. The familiar scrape echoed down the hall, unhurried, inevitable. The air thickened. That faint, sickly, sweet smell of antiseptic and old blood. The shadow would appear in the doorway, a dark promise, just a dull throb. The motel pulsed around me, a smug, contented beast. It knew, it always knew, I was its forever. The door creaked open, the silhouette filled the frame, its presence a suffocating weight, familiar, hated. It moved towards the bed, the glint of a new tool or maybe an old favorite. It didn't matter, not really. I watched it come. No flinching, no pleas this time. My body was still a canvas for its grotesque art. But my mind was somewhere else, observing, cataloging every detail of this grim, unending ritual. A choice. made in the silence, in the face of the inevitable. Not acceptance, never that, not true acceptance, but an understanding, a cold, hard clarity. This thing, this motel, it wanted to break my spirit. It wanted me to become like the stains on the wallpaper, a faded memory of pain. But I wouldn't. I couldn't. A vow, silent, unspoken, forged in the fires of this hell. If this was to be my eternity, then I would endure, defy. The pain came, sharp, blinding, as always, a fresh wave of agony tearing through flesh, grating on bone. The shadow worked with its usual detached efficiency. My body screamed, betrayed me with its involuntary convulsions, but somewhere deep inside, that shard of ice held firm. I focused on the thrum of the motel, its greedy pulse. I felt its hunger, and I met it with a cold, silent hate. This cycle, it might be endless, but so too now was my resolve. I woke, healed, chained, the stench of blood fading. The room waited, the silence waited, the motel waited. It was ready for its next meal, its next performance. And I was ready too, in my own way. The night here was endless, the nightmares guaranteed. But within that darkness, a flicker remained, unseen by it, a promise to myself. I would remember, I would endure. This was my motel of endless nightmares, and I, its unwilling, undying guest.